In the House, it is Brad White, Executive Director, Mississippi Department of Transportation. Brad, good morning, sir. How are you?
Good morning. Great to be here.
You're going to love this story. You ready for this? And we should have had the story before Christmas. Smoke them if you got them. There's finally a way now to use a smoker inside your house. I did not know this. Cook your favorite meats more without having to stand outside. The GE Profile Smart Indoor Smoker uses what the company calls active smoke filtration to turn real wood smoke into warm air packed with flavor. So you got an indoor smoker now. Now, you know you're going to have some guys who will take us out in the rain just because they do the opposite with a grill, bring it in the carport. Smokers tight gaskets and seals to keep the smoke within the appliance, and smoke is gone by the time you're ready to take your food out. Cost you about $1,000. Oh, really? When it goes on sale later this month, comes with wood pellets and an app so you can check the status of your food from anywhere in the house. There you are. You heard it first. How are you?
I'm good. Hope you are.
I am good and ready for the 2024 session. The question is the Department of Transportation ready for the session?
We're very ready and looking forward to it. Already have had very positive conversations, I think, with key legislators, and hope that we can accomplish a lot this session.
Brent, I played a little bit of Lieutenant Governor Hoseman's talk yesterday. When you start looking at the numbers and you start putting it in perspective, how far we've come in just the last 5 or 10 years, it is remarkable. And I know we got more to do, but what people don't realize, our highway system, when you start comparing it with all 50 states, is one of the better in the country.
I think so. I think our folks do a really good job at it. I feel like our biggest need this session, and what I hope we can accomplish, is having a meaningful conversation that results in a new model, a diversified model of dedicated reoccurring revenue with which we can carry out these projects. The one-time money that we've been receiving to help subsidize a lot of the projects that we're building around the state is good, but it's no way to really run a construction program. Eventually our state's going to have a rainy day, and that money will dry up. And so I think that the best thing we can do as far as preparing for the future is to reevaluate what the mechanism of funding is for our transportation system, and then determining the best way and the least intrusive way to provide a reoccurring stream of revenue that we can do that with. And if you remember, the way the Federal Highway Administration is managed, Congress authorizes them every 5 years. And the purpose of that is so they know how much money they're going to have in each of the 50 states year after year that they can plan for and properly implement across the country. And years ago in Mississippi, we replicated that by the legislature choosing to have a diversion of portions of the fuel tax to go in to put up the state match and to help with the state maintenance funds that would kind of work hand in glove with that federal system that we implement throughout the state. But I think we're at a point now to where the fuel tax is just no longer an adequate way of funding the transportation system. I think that we need something more diversified. I think that we need something that would allow us to properly plan and react to the needs that we have around the state. And I hope that that's something that we can do, and I believe it can be done without raising taxes.
Realistically, that problem is going to exacerbate itself as you have more and more people moving toward EVs. I mean, so that's a problem that's not going to go away. It's going to. And I just thought about this. We probably have. I'm just guessing now. I have nothing to go by. I'm just guessing. Less EVs on the road in Mississippi from ownership, or at least toward the bottom, than just about any other state. I would think. Because we love our combustion engine. Probably the same as Arkansas, Louisiana, people like that, or states like that. But you got to think that states like California and New York have a higher percentage. So their problem with taxes and highway dollars has got to be as bad as ours or worse.
Yeah, I mean, that would stand to reason. I'm not sure what those numbers really look like for the other
well, they're already $68 billion in the hole as far as California is concerned, according to the lieutenant governor. So that's just going to dig it in even deeper. Have you guys ever come up? By the way, before I forget this, congratulations to Commissioner Simmons, who was elected chair of the Transportation Commission yesterday.
Tuesday, yeah, real excited about that. Commissioner Simmons is a a great leader. He's been around for a long time. Spent over 25 years, I think, in the state senate. He's very well respected. He's a consensus builder. He cares about transportation. He cares about the staff of MDOT. And it's been a real pleasure to get to work with him, and I look forward to him leading the commission as chairman.
He's most knowledgeable. Have you guys ever come up with, for the legislators listening out there, have you ever come up with a number that would be sustainable year to year that you would present to them?
I think the ideal number, which was arrived at by a study MEC even did, that kind of matches us, is we probably run about a $400 million deficit in our maintenance funds year after year if you were to have an ideal funding level. With regard to the capacity program, which is the program designed to try to plan 20 years out in the future to try to avoid situations like we had in 49 through Rankin County or 55 in DeSoto County and areas on the coast where the volume of traffic has just exceeded what the roadway can adequately handle. We probably need another $150 million a year there to be able to cash flow all of those projects and do the pre-construction as well as construction for that. We have tried to start the conversation by providing some ideas to the legislature about looking at the unobligated portions of the gaming revenue and giving MDOT portions of the use tax that's unobligated that previously have been going into the general fund. I believe if they were able to find a way to divert some of those funds directly to these programs, that it would work. And here's one of the key things I think that I want to make sure that the members of the legislature realize and remember that I think will help them with their confidence level in doing something like this. A couple of years ago, working with the staff of the Legislative Budget Office, we created funds that are at the Department of Finance and Administration that are set up for the federal match, for paving and maintenance, and a third one for capacity. So that allows the legislature now to divert funds or place funds into those accounts, and they can have full confidence that 100% of those dollars go directly to the project. By force of law, MDOT, whether I'm the director or there's another director or regardless of who's on the commission, 100% of that money now goes directly to a paving project or a capacity project or put forth for a federal match, and they don't have to worry about a department spending it on vehicles or staff or anything else because they've allowed us to have a clean federal program with which we can operate the administration. So I think this is the first time that the legislature has been in a position to where we can look at how can we fund our transportation system within the current framework of our tax structure, and then know that when they do determine how they want to do that, there's a mechanism in place where they can guarantee their constituents that 100% of the money goes directly to the projects, and there's no threat, no possible way for it to be redirected to anything else.
When you start talking about an additional $400 or $500 million, are we talking also matching funds with that, or is that?
No, that would just be additional dollars that we would need that would help subsidize. And keep in mind that that's trying to stay ahead of any of the problems that we have on roadways, to where you're rehabilitating pavement before it starts to disintegrate or before it starts to get into a patch and a period like 49 from Florence down to the Simpson County line, which we have under contract now for this coming year to rehabilitate that. But had we had adequate funding, we would have been able to repair that and been ahead of the ball in trying to keep that roadway from deteriorating to the level that it is.
What's the total of the diversions you were talking about a little bit earlier?
The diversions we've looked at now, had we done that, last year was about $162 million in unobligated gaming funds. There were 15% if they gave the state transportation system the same that they give the cities and counties. That would be 15% of the use tax, which I think last year generated around $140 million. That would allow us, if those two amounts were diverted into these accounts, that would allow us to overcome what inflation has done to us with regard to the paving, which has kind of slowed us down in our ability to address those projects. And then it would allow us to have a capacity program that would have a revenue stream of somewhere around $250 million a year that we could then cash flow these big projects like in DeSoto County and the coast and around the metro area and other areas, the Amory Bypass, things like that would allow us to then move those projects along.
I want to ask you more about some of the other diversions, too, and some other ideas, and some of the top other things that we're going to be talking about as far as the 2024 session with the Executive Director of Mississippi Department of Transportation, Brad White. Let me get back to our guest, Brad White, Executive Director of Mississippi Department of Transportation. And we were talking about these diversions, and there seems to be enough energy in the House and Senate to go and finally take a look at this MAEP formula. And because a lot of money is pouring into education that's not accounted for. And once they revise the formula, maybe down to more reasonable, and also put those extra dollars in there that should be in there, is it time to go back and take a look at the diversions from percentage from the lottery itself?
I leave that up to the legislature. I do believe that the lottery is bringing in more revenue than what the legislature anticipated at the time that they originally determined how to separate that money out. And I want to be clear, the diversions that I've talked about with use tax and gaming, I'm not suggesting that that's the best idea and certainly not the only idea, but I do believe that there's a way that we can provide for this core function of government within our existing tax framework without having to raise taxes and do a lot. I believe we have a revenue stream that we can do that. And many decades ago, the previous legislature determined that was the way to best complement the federal program and allow for the planning of construction projects and maintenance projects by diverting portions of the fuel tax to fund that so that everyone can count on the funding revenue and can plan properly, because these projects take 8 years sometimes to bring from the time that you conception all the way to the time you break ground to begin building it. So I would say that everything's on the table as far as I'm concerned, and I leave that to people much smarter than me to determine what would be the best way to go about doing it. But I do believe in today's economy, Paul, that we have to have a diversified stream of revenue. We can no longer put all our eggs in one basket of the fuel tax. But without doing this, projects like you take I-20 in Warren County from the the Mississippi River all the way back to the Highway 61 exit. That's a $1 billion+ project to try to do the improvements needed to allow for that section of the interstate to be safer, more efficient, handle and accommodate the traffic there. And there's absolutely no way to fund a $1 billion+ project. Same in DeSoto County on 55 throughout that county. So we do need to have a serious, meaningful conversation about how are we going to prepare for and provide for this core function of government in a way that will allow the department to do the work.
Yeah, and take politics out of it. I agree with you 100%. I'm not being mean toward education or anything like that. I'm just saying that if you find out and you take all of the lobbying groups, everything out of this, and if you see on paper the fact that education can not only survive but continue to prosper with the amount of money we're giving it realistically, and that money could better be used on the roads where the buses have to get to the school, then that's what you should be doing.
I think they go hand in glove.
Yes.
William Winter used to say the road out of the poorhouse leads by the schoolhouse. Well, there's still a road there, and so we have to have a route to move our people and to transport goods. Every conversation I've had with the Mississippi Development Authority since coming back to MDOT as director, 100% of the time involves when they have a prospect looking at the state and there's needs to be improvements made to the infrastructure around, and how can we best do that and how quick can we do that. And my grandfather used to say, money won't make you happy, but the lack of it will dang sure make you miserable. And that's that's really at the end of the day what the bottom line is.
Well, it's something all the new members of the House and Senate are going to have to face as they get into politics. There's a right way to do things and a political way to do things, and when you're in office, that is a difficult thing to bring together. And only those with a pure heart of a public servant sometimes can do that. The commonality I'm hearing in here between the NIL and the transfer portal and the fuel tax debate is it's something that's going to be that's consuming everybody nationwide. It's almost got to be a federal decision on this one, because you guys can talk about it within the Department of Transportation, but it's almost got to be standardized how we're going to make this switch. Or if we're going to make the switch, how do we tax EVs commensurate to combustible engine?
Sure.
So you can't do that on a state-by-state basis, can you?
Well, Congress is in a different position than the state legislature. When I worked for Senator Cochran and he was chairman of appropriations, if there was a deficit in the Highway Trust Fund, Congress would just appropriate the money, to go into it. The state legislature they have to deal with things a little bit differently. The same rules don't apply to them that applies to Congress. So I think that for Mississippi, and I would argue that it's for all the states, that it's time that we try to come up with a new model that provides, from a diversified standpoint, various streams of revenue that can be counted on year after year to come in and to pay for the maintenance needs. Keep in mind the taxpayers have a $65 billion plus asset in roads and bridges on the state system around the state. And that takes a lot of money to try to keep that rehabilitated and maintaining that current investment. But when you look at the needs around the state about where we need to turn 4 lanes into 6 lanes, or where we need bypasses, or where we need new routes, that list of projects exceeds probably $8 billion to try to get started on, to try to tick away from that. So I hope that we can have that conversation, because otherwise what's going to happen is we're going to be back in the same position the Commission was in about 12 years ago, when they had to cancel the capacity program and divert 100% of that money back into maintenance to be sure that we were trying to hit our metrics as best we can on maintaining the current asset. And having to do that is exactly why you ended up with situations like 49 in Rankin County, 55 in DeSoto County, sections of the coast, I-20 in Warren County, where the roadway, we didn't have the funds to adequately advance the system to prepare for what was coming in the way of traffic and goods and safety and efficiency of the system.
Yeah. Alluding back to the standardization, I was talking about more the method of taxation, not how much you tax, because we got to figure out a way to do that. Tim says in Tupelo, the only EV charging station I know of in North Mississippi is in Tupelo at the mall. It's about 6 or 8 chargers, and I've never seen more than maybe 2 cars at the charger at any one time. So who knows? When is Highway 7 in Oxford planned to be 4-laned, according to 662, or asked by 662?
The Highway 7 project is actually the next project on the list that we believe will be prepared for construction, assuming that we have the construction dollars to build it. All of the money has been dedicated to that project to bring it through the pre-construction phase, and I think we're expected to have all the utilities moved and all of the pre-construction stuff completed somewhere over the next year. And at that time, if funding's available to build it, the Commission will let a contract to move forward with that. But that's one of the things that we're having to talk with the legislature about. But I can tell you, Representative DeWeese and Senator Boyd are at the forefront of that conversation to try to make sure that the resources are available for us to advance that project as soon as possible.
601, would you ask Brad about the expansion of I-55 between Gluckstadt and Madison? I'm not sure about an expansion. Talking about a road uniting those two, or what?
The county, is building a connector that goes across, that will cross 55 going over to Highway 51. And that will become an interchange. In order for us to build the approaches to that bridge that the county will build, we've got to widen the interstate so it can accommodate that traffic. And that's probably about a $110 million project. It's another one that should be ready for construction sometime within the next year, 2 years. But the money right now has not been allocated to build it. So that's another project that's coming near fruition that we're having conversations with the legislature to try to come up with a revenue stream through which we can cash flow the building of these projects.
Final thoughts? Final thoughts from Brad coming up in just a moment or two, right after this. Back live in the Trustmark Studios with final segment Executive Director in the Mississippi Department of Transportation, Brad White. New team all together there. So we got Willie on there. We've got Chairman Busby now, who is part of that, and
Commissioner Caldwell from North Mississippi,
and Commissioner Caldwell, of course, and a good team. So we march forward with that. And lots of things to do. What do you think, beside what we've already alluded to, anything else in the legislative session that needs to be addressed?
There's a few things that we're going to ask to have put in statute that deal with some alternative forms of delivery of projects that kind of gives our staff a few more tools in the toolbox. a few more options in how we deliver the product that would allow us to be a little more efficient, a little quicker with the delivery of various projects that we would build. We're still hopeful that they'll leave the federal program clean of earmarks. I think we've been able to prove the last 2 years that they've been willing to do that, that it allows us the flexibility to utilize the federal money in a way that we can always go back to the feds at the end of the fiscal year and ask for additional obligation authority. This past year, I think, obligated almost $1 billion in projects, and about $100 million of that was extra money that we would not have had if not for that. And then, of course, our focus is to continue adjusting salaries to be able to maintain the proper staff level within the department to meet our mission. I mean, we've made a lot of progress thanks to the leadership of the legislature and the good work of the personnel board that have helped us do that, to stop the hemorrhaging of employees. From our maintenance side, that's important because we need to have a strong maintenance force for when hurricanes or tornadoes come in. They're the first responders that are out cleaning the roadway before the normal first responders can go through. They're the ones that are doing the routine maintenance around the state and are very important to our mission. But also to be able to recruit and maintain engineers that can help do some of the things that the department's been forced to farm out at a much greater cost to the taxpayer in previous years, since we've lost so many employees from that. So I think that we've been able to provide the data that shows that that's a more cost-effective way of us doing business, and the legislature has responded.
So the contracting out or with the private sector sometimes is not the efficient way to go.
Well, it's been the necessary way to go, but if you go back to the 87 four-lane program, a lot of the pre-construction work that was done for those four-lane highways that the state was going to build was done internally. We had a robust roadway design division, robust bridge division. We had engineers that were within the department that could do a lot of the work, do a lot of the inspections of projects and things like that. Because we went so long without adjusting salaries, we lost a lot of those professionals. And I think last year we spent nearly $70 million on engineering consultant firms to do those types of jobs that for a fraction of that we could do by just paying people inside.
Just a lot of it. We lost it two ways. You lose it in efficiency, or how you spend your money as far as efficiency is concerned. You also lose it in PERS.
Yeah. But, I mean, and I can't overstate the importance of these partners in the private sector. I mean, we wouldn't be able to carry out our mission without them, and we have a lot of good firms in Mississippi that help us do the things that's necessary to move the projects along. But I do think that by us, MDOT's a little unusual in that I do think by us having a full staff of people that we can pay and maintain and build the institutional knowledge and helps us do better work for the taxpayer.
How long, what year is this now for you?
It'll be 3 years, July 1.
It seems like it's longer than that. It's been 3 years. Because I know you and I have talked, and let me just say this to the audience out there. If you folks wonder, and I know the conversation's been for years and years, efficiency. This guy here wakes up in the morning and looks at it every single day. How do we do it better? How do we do it faster? And if you want somebody who's in there that's constantly doing this for the commissioners, I know Brad's a guy for that. Because we've had conversation after conversation about this. And everything from going to other states, seeing if anybody's doing it better. What are you doing? Can we do that? How do we do it faster? How do we do it better? Is a constant challenge.
Well, you're very kind. I appreciate that. But, again, the credit goes to the men and women that make up the department. They're the ones that are doing the work that results in positive benefits for the taxpayers of our state and those that travel through the state. The only contribution I make is I think I've helped communicate what our needs were in a way that could get responses from our state leaders. But as far as getting the work done, that's done by our staff, from our maintenance employees all the way up to the chief engineer. It
is all about team. It's good talking to you, sir. Appreciate it very much. Hope you had a happy New Year and good Christmas.
Happy New Year to you.
That is Brad White, Executive Director, Mississippi Department of Transportation.